Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be looking at the lawsuit brought forward against Kraken by the SEC for the sales of what they deem unregistered securities in the forms of them being a broker of these securities, a clearinghouse, and of course an exchange. And we know that Kraken have already settled one lawsuit back in February to the tune of $30 million with the SEC, but of course they brought forward another lawsuit. I think Kraken, by settling, have kind of shown a little bit of weakness, and they're quite, or have become quite a low-hanging fruit for the SEC. But what we're going to be doing is actually looking at Cardano specifically in relation to this lawsuit, see what the SEC has mentioned and spoken about in regards to Cardano and what's actually written in the lawsuit. And we're also going to be looking at something that was brought up by Stake with Pride in regards to BlackRock's Bitcoin trust filing, where they actually call the likes of Cardano and other layer ones a potential threat to the trust stability and, of course, Bitcoin's price. So is there some sort of a linkage there? We're going to be getting into all of that in this video. Let's not waste any time. Let's kick things off with the announcement from Kraken. We'll be looking at the actual lawsuit. And then we're also going to be looking at two other lawsuits, which was, of course, Binance and Coinbase, where Cardano has been mentioned by the SEC as something that they would classify as a security. Before I start this video, however, guys, it's very, very important for me to make sure everybody is absolutely aware that I am not a lawyer. I have no background in securities laws and certainly within the United States. So do not take this as legal advice. This is absolutely not that. This is just somebody who's very interested in this space and some of the projects that have been mentioned by the SEC reporting on the news. Nothing more, nothing less. So, Kraken, within the past 24 hours, announced today the SEC filed a complaint alleging that Kraken operates as an unregistered national securities exchange, broker, and clearinghouse. We disagree with their claims and plan to vigorously defend our position. Now, I think one thing that Kraken potentially did wrong was settling with the SEC. I don't really know, but I do feel that by doing that, they've kind of become an easy target. And we've seen the SEC really lose a lot of lawsuits against Ripple, Brad, and Chris. We also know that, just throwing this in the mix here, BlackRock have filed for a Ethereum ETF, which means that they don't see it as having too much regulatory issues. Otherwise, they perhaps wouldn't go after it. And if you're going to classify, and Hinman, who worked at the SEC, previously classified Ethereum as a non-security. If you're going to classify Ethereum as a non-security, how does that not apply to many of the other cryptocurrencies that have done pretty much the exact same thing, in some cases even to a lesser degree of what may constitute them as securities? Before we move on, let's take a little look at this tweet from Stake with Pride, somebody who is a very prominent Cardano stakeball operator and account on Twitter. BlackRock states Cardano and other layer ones are a risk to Bitcoin demand and price. So this was in the BlackRock iShares Bitcoin Trust that I believe was filed in Delaware, researching and investing resources into private or permissionless smart contract platforms rather than open platforms like the Bitcoin network, competition from the emergence or growth of alternative digital assets, and smart contract platforms such as Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot, or Cardano could have a negative impact on the demand for and price of Bitcoin and thereby adversely affect the value of the shares. So I think they've just got to put this anyway as a bit of the sort of research that they do in regards to the filing, that, you know, they need to tick certain boxes. However, even though they've mentioned Ethereum in this, they have gone ahead and put through a filing. And I actually thought that Ethereum's ETF was kind of a step in the right direction for many of these other layer ones that are kind of doing a similar things, perhaps in a different way. So this is the Kraken lawsuit. It's important to remember that we have had two previous lawsuits. This was against Binance. You can see the mentioning of ADA. It's very much the same thing that they've reiterated in this lawsuit, but we will update you on the lawsuit and read what's been spoken about. And this, of course, was the one against Coinbase. Cardano has, and certainly in this lawsuit, is the first altcoin that they actually mention in regards to Kraken breaching securities laws. So let's go down to page 15 where they actually introduce this. They go on to say, Many of the crypto assets available through Kraken are securities. Throughout the relevant period, Kraken has made available for trading many crypto asset securities. These crypto asset securities are investment contracts represented by the underlying crypto asset. In fact, Kraken currently makes available for trading assets that have been the subject of prior SEC enforcement actions based upon their status as crypto asset securities, including crypto assets trading under the symbols ADA, Axel Infinity, Algorand, Cosmos, Chiliz, Coty, Dash, Filecoin, Flow Network, Internet Computer, Decentraland, Polygon, Near Protocol, Amisego, one I've not heard for a while, Sandbox, and Solana, which were alleged in one or more of the following actions against other unregistered intermediaries. And of course, you've got Bittrex. I don't think Cardano was mentioned in Bittrex. It might have been. I know Algorand was. Binance, they've certainly been mentioned. And of course, Coinbase. Let's scroll down now to where they specifically mention Cardano. So ADA, and this is number 1 on their agenda. What I'm going to do is actually make this a little bit bigger so you guys can read along with me. ADA is the native token of the Cardano blockchain. The Cardano blockchain was created in 2015 by an Ethereum co-founder, Charles Hoskinson, and an Ethereum operational manager, Jeremy Wood. We all know this. As described on Cardano's website, the Cardano blockchain protocol is built on its own proof-of-stake consensus protocol called Ouroboros. It's a great proof-of-stake consensus mechanism, one of our favorites. It's why we're such a fan of Cardano, which is purportedly energy efficient. It is. We can prove that. Hoskinson and Wood created ADA and purported to limit the supply of ADA to 45 billion tokens from 2015 to 2017. Input Output Hong Kong, IOHK, a company founded by Charles Hoskinson and Wood, conducted a token sale during which they sold approximately 25.9 billion ADA in exchange for Bitcoin, at what equates to an average price of 0.0024 cents per token, raising approximately $62 million for Cardano. From the time of its offering and continuing through the relevant period, ADA was offered and sold as an investment contract and is therefore a security. I'm not sure what Charles would have to say about that or other people. I also believe that the initial token sale, by the way, took part in Japan and it was traded for coupons almost. So the price of all ADA tokens goes up or down together. Very obvious. Today, 3 entities are responsible for Cardano. We've seen this in other lawsuits, and this is the reason why they're calling it a security, because of these entities that they're saying is a centralized point that promote and are responsible for the price of ADA, but that's largely, I believe, disagreed with the likes of the founder himself and other people that work on this. So the Cardano Foundation, a Swiss entity that is the legal custodian of the Cardano protocol and owner of its brand. I feel like we all own a bit of Cardano's brand, but anyway. IOHK, an engineering company controlled by Hoskinson and Wood, responsible for designing, building, and maintaining the Cardano blockchain, and Emergo, an entity with offices in New York and California, that according to the website is essentially the for-profit arm of Cardano. Not the best wording there. Endeavoring to advance the platform and drive adoption through commercial ventures. As explained on the Cardano website, IOHK develops the technology. The Cardano Foundation is responsible for the supervision, development, and promotion of Cardano, while Emergo drives commercial adoption. These 3 entities collectively represent 5.2 billion ADA following the initial mining of ADA. Okay, or approximately 16.7% of the initial token supply of the 31.1 billion. These 3 entities have used the proceeds from ADA sales to fund the development. So has Ethereum, by the way. This is all public. This is where we get the ETHgate thing from, and yet they're not going after Ethereum. Development, marketing, business operations, and growth of the Cardano protocol. For example, investors' funds were used to enact the Cardano roadmap created by IOHK, specifically to develop each of the Cardano development eras, as shown in the following screenshot from the Cardano website. So they've shown this 1,000,001 times. Let's get into the allegations as it is associated with Kraken. Kraken has made ADA available for buying, selling, and trading on the Kraken trading platform and through the Kraken services since approximately September 2018. The information publicly disseminated by Cardano, IOHK, and Emergo would lead a reasonable investor, including those who purchased ADA since 2018, to view ADA as an investment. Specifically, investors would reasonably expect to profit from holding ADA based on the efforts of these groups to grow the Cardano platform, because this growth would in turn increase the demand for the value of ADA. In a public statement on Twitter and other social media, as well as on their respective websites, including statements made while ADA was available to trade on the Kraken trading platform and through the Kraken services, the Cardano Foundation, IOHK, and Emergo have touted their expertise in developing blockchain networks and described the efforts they have made and will continue to make to develop Cardano's protocol and blockchain and attract users to the technology. These statements include, here's where it gets interesting, an Ask Me Anything video streamed, posted by Charles Hoskinson at IOHK in or about October 2018, in which he answered questions posed by the live public audience and in which he stated that he believes ADA will achieve his goal of future market capitalization of $1 trillion. Not so sure. Can't really comment on any of this. A blog post by Charles Hoskinson at IOHK in or around January 2022 about how the decade from 2020 to 2029 will be the decade of Cardano, and which stated, as we exit 2020 and throughout the next decade, incentives will be a source of continuous research. The better we get, the faster the feedback loop becomes, the faster we can grow to achieve 1 billion users and become a truly global, I'm sure you'd probably said a truly global decentralized, but a truly global social operating system that is beneficial to everyone. With all that being said, commercialization, technology, and incentives are the three things that will need to be aligned for us to achieve that convenient number one spot. Coveted number one spot, sorry. We are building Cardano for a reason. It is a commercial project and we want to see it grow. Very interesting. I think some of this is being taken a little bit out of context, but that's just my own opinion. An announcement by IOHK in or around January 2021 about the creation of smart contracts on the protocol, which supposedly would pave the way for additional demand for the blockchain protocol. You can see how they're really taking this. It's obvious, right? A blog post by IOHK in or around November 2022 described the efforts to introduce innovation, new functionality, and new features to the blockchain. And a blog post by IOHK on or around November the 17th, 2022 touted ADA being hosted on more than 30 crypto exchanges and outlined IOHK's plans to improve the underlying performance of the Cardano network to better support growth and adoption of thousands of applications with high transaction volumes, while giving specific examples of how this would be achieved. Public statements made by Kraken to investors about ADA and the Cardano platform reinforced investors' reasonable expectations of profit from an investment in ADA due to the managerial efforts of Cardano, IOHK, and Emergo. For example, on the website, Kraken describes for investors Cardano's history, team, and development. Specifically, Kraken's website states that a team of experts, so on and so forth. And then it goes on to Algorand. Very, very interesting. I feel like perhaps this is being taken out of context to fit the SEC's narrative. You know, the how we test is still very much how we judge things. A lot of what has been said in regards to going against Cardano is similar things that we've seen in the likes of the Ripple, Brad, and Chris lawsuit. And instead of, as far as I'm aware, there's been no lawsuits brought to any of these centralized foundations that the SEC is basically saying classifies or makes these cryptocurrency securities only against exchanges. So I don't really know what to take from that. There's been nothing thrown against IOHK or any of these entities. Some of them don't even exist within the United States. So I don't really know what to take from all this, but this is the third, I'm sure it probably won't be the last time that Cardano has been mentioned specifically by the SEC, and they've been implying that it is a security. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section, guys. We just thought we would cover this as it's still pretty hot off the press. You know, this is news within the past 24 hours. I think the BOJ has an announcement coming out today as well. Some are speculating that's to do with Binance, but we will see, or the DOJ, sorry, not the Bank of Japan, the Department of Justice in the United States. We will see. That's all I've got for you guys. I want to know your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Lots of ADA content coming out for you guys in the weeks ahead. We've got some really great stuff to be presenting. All I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it, so as a comment, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.